Oh, I'm not in as good a shape as I normally am because I haven't been riding the spin bike at home, the trainer, this winter. Took the winter off for the first time in like a decade, which was nice, other than I don't have as high a fitness as I would normally have. All right, that's a good test right there too. Feels very intuitive jumping on this thing. Yeah, it feels like a slightly lighter version of the stump jumper, I think. Guys, I just got back from my ride on the 2024 Specialized Epic 8 EVO. That's kind of a mouthful. This is an all-new bike for Specialized. I mean, I know they've had the previous generation's Epic EVOs, but this is very different. For those of you who've never been to my channel, my name is Jason. This is MTB Yum Yum. I try to review as many bikes as I can get my hands on, and this video is sponsored by Lab Austere Hip Packs. So if this is your first time to the channel, I owned the Specialized Stump Jumper last season. I put a ton of miles on that bike. This bike, just in a nutshell, feels like it's maybe slightly more closer to that stump jumper in how it rides on the trail than the previous 7th generation Epic EVO. Just, you know, the nuts and bolts of this thing is real quick is it has a 75-degree seat tube angle, 65.4 degree head tube angle. The bike ships in the low setting. I purchased this bike as a frame only from backcountry.com. And there's a link down below that you can go click on the link and look at all the nerdy numbers about the bike. But this size medium has about a 445 millimeter reach with that 65.4 degree head tube angle, but it feels a little bit longer than that because this 75 degree seat tube angle is actually pretty slack by today's standards. It has a 130 millimeter Fox 34 fork and a Fox float shock out back at 120 millimeters. And that's really, I think, the thing that makes this bike feel so much more like a trail bike, more like the stump jumper than the previous generation Epic EVO. It's very composed on the downhill, like surprisingly so. I was really blown away. In fact, I'd be very interested to ride this back to back with the current stump jumper. Okay, it's not nearly as nervous as the previous Epic EVO, which I think everyone was kind of like thinking that would probably be the case. Yeah, it's definitely much more like my old stump jumper. There we go. In any case, I did a custom build. I just took the frame up to my local bike shop, Salt Cycles, and had them custom build it. Just so you know, SRAM XO drivetrain, XTR brakes, MV cockpit and wheels. And I originally started 2 weeks ago when I first got this bike with a Recon Maxxis Recon up front and a Recon Race out back, kind of cross-country tires. I've since replaced it, put the Recon on the back now, and put a Forecaster up front. Because the bike does feel more like a trail bike, which is really weird because it's an Epic. It's an Epic 8 EVO, right? And I'll just tell you climbing. So right away, climbing, you feel pedal bob as you're like cruising along like the road on the pavement up to the trail, and even on like the fire road. But once you get on the single track, it definitely, you don't notice the bob as much, and it feels like it has a lot of forward movement. Like it feels like an efficient bike. It's weird because you notice that bob, but once you're actually on the mountain bike trail, like the single track, it just boogies. It feels very efficient and it feels quick. So a little incline here out of the saddle. Bike just feels really responsive. Yeah, man, I think a lot of people are gonna think this is a pretty neat bike, although I think it might get overlooked for what it is because it says Epic on it. And Epic for Specialized has been their race bikes. This is definitely much more like a trail bike. I've ridden this back to back now with the previous 7th generation Epic EVO. I've ridden it back to back with the Yeti ASR that recently came out, as well as the Ibis XE. And I would say, of all the bikes mentioned, this bike feels like it's almost in the different category, like it's left the cross-country category and migrated up to like the trail category. It feels, you know, kind of like I used to own and ride the Ibis Ripley, and it kind of almost feels as capable as that bike. Maybe not quite as much, but it's surprising. It's surprising to get on a bike that says it's an Epic and have it be like, have such good trail manners, right? It doesn't feel so nervous or so twitchy. Today's video is sponsored by Lab Austere hip packs. I have been using the Lab Austere hip pack for, geez, probably 5 years now. It is a minimalist hip pack that rides low off of your back, which is crucial because it keeps your back from getting all sweaty. You don't feel it moving around your back because it kind of hangs off of you like a construction worker's tool belt. It's very, very intuitive, very thoughtful, the development of this hip pack. So you barely know it's there. It has 2 places for water bottle holders, you know, on either side. I'm left-handed, so I keep mine on the left side. The nice thing about it is you can grab your water bottle, take a drink in the middle of riding, and then reholster it, lickety split, very easy. You don't have to put a little loop over the top of your water bottle or any, you know, kind of gimmicky thing. I've never lost a water bottle, they just stay put. It has a spot in the middle here for just the essentials, you know, a tool, a CO2, an air chuck, some snacks. You just bring along the essentials that you actually need. It's very lightweight. You don't even know it's there. Right now, Lab Austere is offering 25% off to viewers of my channel. Click the link down below, head over to Lab Austere and pick up a hip pack. You won't be disappointed for this mountain bike season. It'll be very nice to have. I take it on every ride and love it. Use promo code YUMYUM at checkout. So as we move into the downhill portion of like the commentary about this bike, riding it back to back with the previous generation Epic EVO, the 7th generation, it makes that bike feel very nervous and twitchy in comparison. That bike also had RockShox SID and Lux suspension, so maybe this Fox feels just maybe a little bit smoother. I don't know exactly what it is. It's a whole new frame, but all I can tell you is this bike, compared to all the other cross-country bikes I've been riding lately, which right now I have at my house, the Ibis XE, the new Yeti ASR, Pivot Mach 4 SL, and a Cannondale Scalpel SE, along with this bike. And this bike feels like it's in a different category. It has a 130mm fork, which is, you know, separating it a little bit from the other bikes I've mentioned, including the previous generation Specialized Epic EVO. But man, it's incredible how good trail manners this has. It just tracks the ground really well. It feels very stable. It feels longer. It's on a size me, it's an 1180 wheelbase, which is not crazy long, you know. Other bikes, you know, like the Rocky Mountain Element, for example, has a 120mm rear and 130 fork, as I recall. And it has an over 1200mm wheelbase. It feels much longer. I wouldn't put this quite into the category of the Pivot Trail 429 or the Specialized Stump Jumper or the Ibis Ripley or that Rocky Mountain Element even, or even a Transition Spur. Actually, the Transition Spur, this is probably the most similar to. I don't know, I didn't think about that. I haven't ridden that bike in like 3 years. It's kind of in between the cross-country category and the trail category, which is kind of a neat place to have a bike. It rode really well. I was surprised. I want to say pleasantly surprised because it did descend very well, but I was also surprised because I was really expecting to compare this to all the other bikes I have at my house right now. And it just isn't. It's not the same. It's much more of a trail bike. It's really bizarre. A few little things that are worth mentioning. I enjoyed riding the bike, but I think if you're a taller person, I'm a 5'8" tall person on a size medium bike, and that 75-degree seat tube angle, I notice it. It feels pretty slack for what would be almost a trail bike. I think if you're taller and the longer that saddle comes up out, the more over that rear axle you're gonna end up. So the Ibis Ripley, for example, kind of feels similar to this, but it has a 76.5-degree seat tube angle instead of a 75. And it makes a difference. The other thing is this bike has this kind of knock block thing in there. Trek started doing that back in like 2017 or 2018. I've never personally owned a bike until now that has that, and it's just kind of different. It's a little weird. This headset thing's kind of different and interesting. It has that float shock instead of the DPS that Fox has used forever. In fact, the Stump Jumper, which is supposed to be the more capable trail bike, has the Fox DPS shock on it. This float shock is significantly better. I can only imagine how much better the Stump Jumper would ride if it had this float shock. And so that's maybe the other thing that's helping this experience feel so much more trail worthy or trail capable, right? Everything else about the bike, I think I really liked. It came in kind of a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. Again, I've been riding a lot of really lightweight cross-country bikes lately. So to say that this felt heavy at, 25.5 pounds or whatever it was, that's still a very light bike. Maybe it was 25 3/4. In any case, it felt heavier than the other bikes I've been riding lately. I had a lot of fun on it. I started out with a 50mm stem, but because this seat tube is so slack, I ended up putting a 35mm stem on there, and that felt a little better for me at 5'8" on a medium. In any case, so many great new bikes coming out. I really wish I would have bought, I thought buying the Epic EVO was going to be the right bike to compare to the other bikes I have right now. I'm recognizing now that the Epic probably would have been the better buy to compare to these other short travel bikes I have. So my plan is to take this bike back up to Salt Cycles, put and this is also not a step cast fork, this is a full Fox 34. So maybe go with the step cast at 120mm. As far as I understand it, this shares the same frame as the Epic. So if I put a 120 step cast on there, I'll basically have an Epic. I'll put faster rolling tires. I'll probably lighten it up a little bit, take it back out and compare it to some of the other bikes I've been testing lately. Anyway, I think the takeaway is here is if you're only going to own one bike, this is maybe one to consider. I wish it had a steeper seat tube angle. And if you buy the Epic, it's the same frame, but you drop down down to a 120mm fork, and that makes this seat tube angle 75.5 degrees. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. Oh, you can flip the shock from a high to a low setting. It's shipped in the low setting, so it has a 65.4 degree head tube angle. It's easy to just swap out that little piece that the back of the shock hooks to right here, and it will steepen it up a half a degree to 65.9, so almost 66 degrees. That's the Epic 8 EVO. It's been fun to ride. I'm not as enamored with it as I had hoped I would be. But, cool bike. Basically a trail bike almost. Anyway, leave any comments or questions in the comment section down below. I do a really good job of interacting with people down there. Any links that you click down below this video, either to go check out the bike at backcountry.com. That's where I bought the frame. I paid full price for it, and you can click the link down there, and anything that you buy are affiliate links. They directly go to support my channel and what I'm doing here and keep this channel pumping out new content. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Kind of has like a yellowish, pinkish, greenish, what do they call that? Like a chameleon type color? In the auto world, you call it tri-coat or like pearl. So it's like a pearlish white. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does it look good? Went with the EXO transmission drivetrain. XTR Shimano brakes. 130mm Fox 34 fork. Kind of all the good stuff. I just tried to keep the build as similar to that the stock build, that green Seafoam green bike that they have, the Pro. That's $8,500. Try to keep my build as similar to that as possible. Although I wasn't going to ride the SRAM brakes if I didn't. I mean, I had to buy this bike. I couldn't demo it anywhere, so I had to go buy it. And I went with XTR Shimano 4-piston brakes because, I don't know, they're way better than SRAM. I don't know, personal preference, I guess, right? All right, this is a flow trail with some jumps. Hopefully it's dry. Oh yeah, the bike feels great. Oh, muddy section. Normally that's a lot of fun to hit those jumps, but I didn't want to get all muddy. I kind of felt the bike kind of bog right there for just a minute. These are the highest speeds I've ridden this bike at so far. And I felt the rear end hang up just a little bit on that step down. It was kind of, my stump jumper EVO, my big bike that I had last year, would do that sometimes too. I think it just happens sometimes. Fun. Wow.